Hey guys, one of our patrons asked recently about the movie called Lost in Translation, and it stars Bill Murray and Scarlett Johansson, and he asked if I'd seen it and if I liked it, and I said I remember seeing it, I remember liking it, but it was a long time ago. It's a pretty old movie, it might be 20 years old, so I couldn't really remember. I remember bits of it. I remember "Lip my stocking" and some stuff like that. Those of you who've seen it will remember that scene too, probably. So there was some bits that I remembered. I couldn't really remember much of it, so it was like 20 years ago. So I thought, yeah, I'll watch that again. So this week, one rainy day, I couldn't get out to do the things I needed to do outside, so I watched it again. And it was really good. As I remember, I enjoyed it like I remembered enjoying it last time. I started taking notes at first, the things that I was noticing that were really accurate. It's sort of like what they did was they shot it in Tokyo, it seems, and just captured Tokyo. So it wasn't the idealized Tokyo that you usually see with all those classic cliche scenes. It was just day-to-day Tokyo. So what it was like for him, he just got in a taxi and went somewhere in a taxi, and just all the day-to-day stuff, you know. And then when he met the Japanese people, he came to Japan to do a whiskey commercial. So the deal is that Bill Murray was a famous actor, and now he's just doing whiskey commercials, right? It's Suntory time, and so he arrives and he's met by these executives from Suntory and some other people, and they were really good. It was like they weren't acting. They were just like an experience that you could have here normally in Japan, meeting business people. You know, they behave just like business people here do, handing over the cards and lots of bowing, and just they really captured it really well. Whoever wrote it and directed it did a really good job. Actually, the director was the daughter of a famous director who also co-produced it. So anyway, if you're interested in all that, you can look it up on one of those sites that has all that. Or when you watch the movie, if you decide to watch the movie, you'll see all those details. But the director really did a good job of just staying out of it. It's like there wasn't that usual Hollywood influence, you know, and it was just people in Tokyo doing stuff, you know. And so it captured lots of that good stuff. I made lots of notes at first about all the stuff that was really accurate, you know, just their behaviour, the scenery, not particularly, not shot to make it look particularly special or anything, just shot like it'd be the same if I went to Tokyo and walked around with my camera and then posted the video on YouTube. It's just like that. It's just like that. It's really good. Those of you who have been to Tokyo, will recognise this just like being in Tokyo, you know, a normal experience in Tokyo. Those who haven't been yet, that's what it's like, right? So that was the first thing I was noting was the fairly superficial stuff, like that, you know. I'll have a low shower. He gets in the shower, and the shower head was really low, and he tried to bring it up to its maximum height, and it still wasn't high enough. It was still about chest height. Yeah, tall people have experienced that in Japan before. Watching TV and the rubbish that was on TV, just the weird rubbish, and he just sat there scrolling through the channels with this sort of bewildered look on his face. He's got the right, Bill Murray's got the right disposition for reacting to weird Japanese stuff, you know. He just sort of looked at it. At one stage they actually had him on a weird Japanese TV show, and he was trying to sort of get into it, but you could see he just wasn't getting into it. It was just too weird, right? I guess I relate to him, his reactions to it, because he was reacting to it like an old man, right? And, you know, old men like me react to weird stuff in Japan a bit like that sometimes, like one raised eyebrow and like, you're kidding me, aren't you? Are you for real with those clothes, you know? Are you serious? So there was all that, you know, and it was all good. The big city Japan experience, you know, that was all there, you know, it was all good. But what really struck me this time was deeper than that. I don't want to ruin it for anybody who hasn't seen it yet. I don't want to ruin the plot. But the two characters you know, him and Scarlett Johansson are sort of isolated. And they're sort of isolated, and they're sort of, you can see that they're feeling isolated and they're feeling sort of lonely. And anybody who's spent time in Japan on your own would have experienced that. You know, I spent a lot of time when I first came here, a lot of time here on my own, which is actually really good for learning stuff, because you tend to be more observant when you're on your own than you would be if you're with someone else. However, if you're traveling in Japan or living in Japan with someone else, you don't get this same isolated feeling so much, you know. Whereas when you're on your own, you quite often do. And it's sort of interesting because you could be in Tokyo, which is like 20 million people in the metropolitan area, right? 20 million people around you, but feel really isolated. And they sort of captured that really well. The director really captured that really well. That here they were, you know, in really busy places, surrounded by lots and lots of people, but this underlying feeling of isolation, but you know, partly from the language as well. You know, he was trying to talk to people and they're just going on in Japanese. You know, they had a funny scene when he was shooting his commercial, and some of you know, I've actually done, I've been an extra in some TV shows here, and so I've been on movie sets here, you know, and it was really classic. They captured it really well. And then, you know, the director was giving these really long instructions on what to do, and the translator was just giving really short translations, and he's saying, is that really all he said, you know? And the language thing, and there were some people in it, some Japanese people in it who spoke English well, but the majority didn't. So he spent a lot of time speaking to people in English, and they're answering him in Japanese, and they just had no idea. And that's very isolating when you're living in a place where you can't speak the language, and you know, they're speaking to you in a language you don't understand. Some of you would have experienced this. It's really isolating. You know, you can be in a room of 100 people. I remember sitting at a table once when I first came here and couldn't speak Japanese or understand Japanese at all, and sitting at a table with like 20 people, and they're all drinking and eating and talking and laughing, and I didn't know what was going on. And there's nothing more isolating than sitting at a table and someone says something and everyone laughs, but you don't understand what was said, so you're not laughing. So the whole table's cracking up, and you're just sitting there looking at them like, oh, what happened, you know? And really isolating, really, really is, you know. And that movie really captured it. And I'm trying not to ruin the plot, but that actually was part of the plot. That was actually part of the story, was the fact that these two characters were sort of isolated and you know, surrounded by people, but here they are. And that played out right till the very end of the movie too. You got that same feeling that here they are surrounded by people, but it's just him and it's just her, and all the other people are just sort of like background or scenery, you know. And that's the feeling, you know. I remember going to Tokyo when I first came here and couldn't speak Japanese, and I spent a few days in Tokyo, and that was the feeling there. It was like, you know, all these walls of people around you, but it doesn't mean anything if you don't know what's being said, you know, and the announcements and PA, and if you can't read anything and you don't understand what you're hearing, it's all just noise, you know. It's just noise and colour, and it doesn't mean anything if you don't know what's going on, you know. So it was really good. It was really, really good. So obviously, if you're watching this video, you're interested in Japan, I would suggest check it out. Lost in Translation, it's called. It was like 2003 or something. It's like 20 years old. Bill Murray. And so yeah, check it out. I mean, if you've been to Japan, you'll probably get a giggle out of it because you'll recognise lots of stuff. Just little things like the sounds the lifts make, the ding that the lifts make. There was a lot of little things like that, you know, and just little things like that, little details that were like, yeah, there it is, you know, and things that people said. And I don't know if it has, I guess it has subtitles. I watched it online, and the version I watched didn't have subtitles, which was sort of interesting because the Japanese people just speak in normal Japanese, and again, it's written very realistically, so they're speaking away in Japanese, you know, really, really well. So really naturally, that's what I meant, not really well, but really naturally, you know. It's real natural Japanese, so it's good. It's a good movie. It's a really good movie. They did a good job of it. So yeah, I'd recommend it. Lost in Translation, check it out. Another Unskilled movie review. More videos coming soon.